Greetings, galactic class of light. I am Dralov the Arcturian, and I welcome you into this frequency of the astral realm. You are about to step into a realm beyond the membrane of the familiar, beyond the bounds of space-time. For millennia, your world has carried whispers of encounters with beings from beyond the stars, presences recorded in ancient carvings, sacred traditions, unexplained phenomena, and the guarded memories of civilizations long faded from the surface of time. Tonight, we open the gate to that hidden history. You are about to be introduced to the alien races that Earth has encountered, watchers, wanderers, allies, architects, and adversaries whose influence has shaped more of human history than many realize. Some came in wisdom, some came in conquest, some left behind knowledge, symbols, bloodlines, and questions that still remain unresolved.
Legends.
Now, let's begin with the Holial Horgon, also known as the Horgonites. The Holial Horgonites are an ancient, highly disciplined reptiloid civilization from Antlia, specifically Planet 12 of the Holial system under the Star Hats 26. They are recognized as the only Stage 3 civilization in their stellar system, placing them among the more advanced and internally stable societies in their region of space. Their development appears to have been shaped by long continuity, scientific refinement, institutional maturity, and a strong civilizational emphasis on preservation. They are widely associated with wisdom, medical excellence, restraint, and a carefully ordered social structure. Their power rests in what they preserve, heal, restore, regulate, and maintain. Everything about them suggests a people who matured through knowledge rather than conquest, through stewardship rather than expansion, and through deep memory rather than spectacle. Their history seems to be the history of a civilization that rose through continuity and specialization instead of empire. The Horgonites likely passed through an early age of biological adaptation and species formation, followed by a prolonged scientific era in which medicine, developmental care, environmental regulation, and social order became the pillars of their advancement. In time, these strengths appear to have merged with anti-gravity, engineering, orbital infrastructure, and floating civic design, producing a society in which science, architecture, governance, and care systems operate as one integrated whole. Their influence likely expanded gradually as other civilizations came to rely on them for advanced treatment, rescue systems, reproductive science, and biological stabilization. Their historical importance seems tied less to battlefield triumphs and more to saved populations, restored lineages, controlled outbreaks, stabilized habitats, and trustworthy institutions. A people so focused on continuity would almost certainly preserve long archival records, medical line histories, hatchery registries, developmental maps, crisis annals, and deep scientific memory stretching across major eras of their growth. A fitting summary of their civilizational ethic would be, preserve life without disorder. This principle appears to sit beneath nearly every major feature of Horgonite culture. They do not seem driven by conquest, ideological conversion, or domination. Their power is expressed through sustaining viability, the viability of bodies, lineages, civic systems, research environments, orbital corridors, and recovery zones. Advanced knowledge in their view appears to create obligation. Precision functions as a moral discipline. Intervention is acceptable when it reduces collapse, protects continuity, and stabilizes life. Peace, for them, seems strongest when supported by readiness, procedural seriousness, and strong infrastructure. Their restraint reads as trained restraint, backed by real capacity. Physically, the Horgonites are androgynous reptiloids with a refined and highly distinctive biological form. They likely possess lean, elongated physiques built for endurance, efficiency, and control, rather than raw, muscular force. Their heads are elegant and elongated, with smooth, symmetrical cranial ridges running across the skull. These ridges may serve several functions at once, including thermoregulation, sensory processing, social signaling, and possibly subtle pressure or resonance detection. Their eyes are large, dark, and deeply observant, giving them the appearance of beings who read depth, motion, and nuance with unusual care. The narrow snout, restrained facial movement, and composed expression create an impression of solemn intelligence and disciplined awareness. Their skin appears fine-scaled or micro-textured, smooth in some regions and softly pebbled in others, likely helping with moisture balance, temperature stability, and environmental sensitivity. Their coloration probably ranges through pale gray, taupe gray, mauve gray, muted pink undertones, and faintly iridescent hues under certain lighting conditions. Their necks are long and ringed, their posture upright and poised, and their movements likely slow, deliberate, and socially meaningful. Their hands are probably long-fingered and highly dexterous, well suited for surgical work, laboratory manipulation, incubation care, and delicate interface control. In terms of scale, the Horgonites likely fall into a tall, slender humanoid range. A reasonable estimate would place most adults between roughly 6 feet 2 inches and 7 feet tall, with their long necks, upright posture, and narrow frames, making them appear even taller in person. They would likely seem imposing through elegance and anatomical distinctiveness rather than brute physicality. Their lifespan is also likely very long compared with humans. Given their medical sophistication, biological refinement, and stable civilization, a natural healthy lifespan of roughly 220 to 380 years seems plausible, with elder scientific or medical castes potentially living longer through regenerative care. A lifespan of that length would support their deep specialization, slow educational pathways, stable institutions, and long-range decision-making. The Horgonites reproduce by laying eggs, and this single fact implies a deeply developed biological culture centered on hatcheries, incubation systems, lineage continuity, developmental monitoring, and hereditary care. A civilization with their medical capacity would almost certainly treat reproduction, emergence, and early development as highly advanced sciences. Their institutions likely include protected incubation vaults, developmental laboratories, genomic archives, specialist medical orders devoted to reproductive health, and carefully supervised hatchery environments where lineage integrity and developmental success are matters of both science and civic responsibility. This reproductive system also suggests a species that thinks in long cycles and places great importance on ancestry, population stewardship, and generational continuity. Their greatest defining capability is medicine. The Horgonites likely excel in xenobiology, regenerative treatment, tissue and organ restoration, trauma stabilization, reproductive and developmental science, neural repair, recovery from environmental and technological harm, and long-term rehabilitation after crisis. They also appear especially strong in biological continuity science, including hatchery design, incubation control, hereditary preservation, population recovery, fertility support, and the stabilization of lineages damaged by conflict, contamination, or systemic collapse. Their expertise almost certainly extends into rescue and triage systems, including orbital treatment stations, rescue vessels, medical transfer corridors, isolation and containment environments, species-specific care chambers, and advanced emergency networks designed for precision under pressure. Alongside these strengths, they likely possess unusual skill in scientific diplomacy, cross-species translation of medical knowledge, ethical review systems, clinical standards, research coordination, and intergovernmental training programs. Their floating architecture further suggests advanced mastery of anti-gravity engineering, environmental balancing, structural stabilization, and orbital-linked civic design. The major strengths of the Horgonites are systemic rather than theatrical. They appear exceptionally strong in medicine, developmental care, trauma recovery, and species preservation. Their civilizational stability is likely very high because they seem to possess mature institutions, disciplined populations, long archival memory, expertise-based leadership, and a low tolerance for disorder. They would probably perform especially well in crisis environments requiring triage, containment, rapid clinical reasoning, minimal collateral damage, and procedural clarity. Their long lifespans and cultural continuity would also make them strong planners, allowing for deep specialization, infrastructure resilience, strategic reserve systems, and intergenerational policy coherence. Even though they appear peaceful, they also seem well prepared to defend critical zones such as orbit, research complexes, hatcheries, medical corridors, and civilian platforms. Another major strength is ethical reliability. Other civilizations would likely trust them because they seem technically honest, discreet, consistent, careful with sensitive knowledge, and resistant to vanity-driven decision-making. Their weaknesses are the shadow side of those same strengths. Because they likely favor procedure, precision, and layered review, their response time may be slower than that of more ruthless or impulsive powers in fast-moving crises. A civilization built around refined systems can also suffer when those systems are disrupted. Damage to orbital corridors, communications networks, hatchery environments, archive systems, or medical logistics could produce severe stress. Their strong emphasis on expertise may create technocratic rigidity, bureaucratic delay, excessive gatekeeping, and reduced flexibility in the face of irrational actors or highly emotional political environments. Their calm demeanor may be misread as coldness, especially by populations in grief who need visible emotional reassurance alongside competent action. Because their culture appears centered on preservation rather than conquest, they may be less suited to prolonged campaigns of brutal attrition or savage symbolic warfare. Their bias towards stability may also slow necessary reform, particularly when long-standing systems once served them well. Finally, because they likely hold highly sensitive biological and medical knowledge, espionage or internal breach could be especially dangerous. Their cities and institutional spaces likely reflect the same values seen in their science. A Horgonite medical tower or recovery complex would probably feature quiet, floating structures, anti-gravity-linked walkways, controlled light levels, sterile yet warm materials, organic curvature, transparent monitoring membranes, low-noise medical systems, and carefully balanced atmosphere control. The overall feeling would be serene, precise, and built to reduce panic. A hatchery or lineage preservation chamber would likely contain temperature-balanced incubation vaults, suspended egg cradles, developmental monitoring arrays, genetic archive interfaces, and ceremonial designs surrounding emergence and continuity. Such spaces would feel sacred and scientific at once. Their civic research platforms would probably consist of hovering administrative modules, clean geometric platforms, archive halls, teaching theaters, council chambers, and observation rings, all integrated into a single functional campus. Orbital or moon-based defense stations would likely be compact, elegant, and strategically placed, designed for interception, corridor protection, shielding, evacuation support, and disciplined readiness rather than intimidation. Socially, the Horgonites likely behave with restraint, courtesy, and strong context awareness. They probably value precision in speech, calm under pressure, etiquette, respect for expertise, measured emotional expression, and reliability over charm. Public interaction would likely be formal, yet still warm in its own way, highly deliberate, information-dense, and sensitive to rank, function, and setting. They likely observe before speaking, dislike unnecessary interruption, and associate trust with consistency and competence. Their body language may carry a great deal of meaning, with gaze, posture, stillness, and neck angle functioning as markers of attention, status, concern, or respect. Their restraint should be understood as a trained cultural preference for stability and signal clarity rather than emotional absence. Their emotional life likely runs deep, though expressed through steadiness, service, and disciplined presence rather than display. Their diet is likely highly regulated, nutrient-conscious, and shaped by biological efficiency and medical understanding. They probably consume protein-rich cultured foods, mineral-dense vegetation, refined fungal and algal compounds, soft aquatic proteins, fermented nutrient concentrates, warm broths rich in trace elements, and laboratory-balanced food matrices tailored to age, health, and developmental stage. Their cuisine likely emphasizes nutritional precision, digestive efficiency, reproductive support, low waste, controlled sourcing, and functional health value over indulgence. Daily eating habits are probably orderly and quiet, while ceremonial meals may mark incubation, emergence, council agreements, scientific milestones, or lineage observances. Even in ceremonial contexts, the tone would likely remain controlled and intentional. Politically, the Horgonites appear best suited to a governance model built around expertise, review, and institutional maturity. Their society likely includes scientific councils, medical ethics assemblies, civic planners, hatchery or lineage authorities, archive keepers, defense coordinators, and research oversight bodies. Political authority likely comes from proven competence, long service, technical mastery, ethical reliability, and institutional memory, rather than charisma alone. Their major political questions probably concern intervention thresholds, technology restriction, the sharing of sensitive knowledge, preservation of autonomy, allocation of resources among research, care, and defense, and the balance between continuity and adaptation. Their politics seem likely to be procedural, disciplined, and deeply tied to specialist judgment, though tension could still emerge around how much aid to extend, how tightly to guard knowledge, and how to prevent preservation from hardening into over-control. The Horgonites are best described as peaceful, though their peace is a prepared peace rather than a passive one. They likely prefer prevention over retaliation, containment over escalation, recovery over punishment, secure borders over expansion, and deterrence over conquest. At the same time, they maintain defense fleets on nearby moons, strategic orbital infrastructure, protected civilian and scientific zones, and strong emergency response systems. Their peace is backed by readiness. They seem like a civilization that understands violence clearly, dislikes it deeply, and prepares carefully so that destructive forces have fewer openings to reach hatcheries, research complexes, archives, medical towers, and population centers. When handling threats, the Horgonite approach appears centered on stabilization rather than destruction. They would likely begin by securing the environment, protecting civilians and critical infrastructure, isolating biological or technological hazards, intercepting hostile movement before it reaches urban zones, and creating treatment corridors alongside defense corridors. Their tactical doctrine probably prioritizes the protection of hatcheries, the preservation of medical towers, the maintenance of orbital access, prevention of contamination, reduction of civilian panic, immediate recovery of the injured, and data capture from every crisis. If forced into direct combat, they would likely fight with controlled, efficient motion, positional discipline, high technology support, and very little theatrical aggression. Their methods would favor neutralization, corridor security, and minimization of secondary harm. In terms of family and attachment, the Horgonites almost certainly have mates, families, and durable forms of love, though these likely operate through responsibility, stability, and continuity rather than dramatic courtship. Pair bonding or multi-partner care structures may form through compatibility, long assessment, shared duty, reproductive coordination, and aligned service. Family may extend well beyond a simple household unit into lineage houses, hatchery circles, developmental care cohorts, research family units, and intergenerational archive communities. Because they are egg-laying, child-rearing likely combines biological parentage with communal and institutional support. Their love probably appears steady, protective, and responsibility-based. Affection may be expressed through presence, protection of health, reliability, shared labor, developmental care, memory, and constancy. Their version of love likely runs deep and durable, even when outwardly quiet. Taken together, the Holial Horgonites emerge as a long-lived, tall, egg-laying reptiloid civilization defined by medical mastery, scientific rigor, floating architecture, social restraint, political order, and a highly developed ethic of preservation. Now we arrive at a civilization whose reputation has traveled across systems and centuries alike. The Dwanis are an extremely small, peaceful, highly intelligent race associated with nature, ancient memory, and the preservation of knowledge. They are remembered as quiet keepers of wisdom, deeply connected to the living world and to the old histories of planets, peoples, and cosmic cycles. Their presence carries the feeling of an elder race that studies, remembers, and safeguards what other civilizations forget. The Dwanis are said to have originally emerged from Vega, where they were known for their closeness to nature and their role as preservers of ancient knowledge. Over long ages, branches of their people migrated outward into Sirius and Canis Major, where their traditions adapted to new planetary and interstellar environments. Some later communities are also said to live within inner Earth, continuing a hidden existence beneath the surface while preserving very old teachings, ecological wisdom, and records of earlier worlds. Because of this long movement across regions, the Dwanis are remembered through several overlapping traditions: as a vegan wisdom race, as a hidden people known in Sirian and Canis Major streams, and as subterranean keepers dwelling in inner Earth. Their central ethic is the preservation of life, memory, and planetary balance. They value nature, history, old knowledge, continuity between worlds, and the passing down of what has been forgotten. In clean form, their guiding principle is simple: protect the world, preserve its memory, and pass on what is true. Physically, the Dwanis are commonly described as dwarfish, short in stature, heavily covered in dark brown or earth-toned hair, with broad faces, deep-set, intelligent dark eyes, and lined features that give them an elder appearance, even when they are strong and alert. Their bodies are compact and sturdy, well suited to hidden or rugged environments. Their appearance often evokes old folklore memories of little hidden beings, yet with a more ancient, cosmic, and intelligent presence. They are generally described as standing around 3 feet tall, though some variations may exist depending on region and lineage. They are also remembered as long-lived compared with humans, especially because of how strongly they are tied to memory, continuity, and the preservation of old knowledge. The Dwanis are associated with extraordinary memory, preservation of ancient teachings, mastery of history and sacred traditions, close attunement to natural systems, survival in hidden environments, and deep observation of other civilizations. They are often described as knowing far more about the rise and fall of worlds than they openly reveal. Their greatest strengths lie in their intelligence, patience, ecological awareness, adaptability, and ability to endure quietly while larger civilizations collapse around them. They are powerful less through conquest than through continuity, wisdom, and survival. At the same time, their weaknesses seem to grow from the same qualities that make them strong. They can be withdrawn, overly hidden, and slow to trust larger surface civilizations. Their instinct is often to preserve knowledge rather than act openly during crisis, and their small size can leave them vulnerable in direct physical conflict with larger, militarized races. Their wisdom can turn inward, becoming caution, silence, and distance. Their worlds and dwellings are a blend of nature-bound sanctuaries, subterranean halls, warm cave systems, volcanic or lava-adjacent regions, and hidden stone chambers filled with symbols, carvings, records, and memory-keeping devices. In their Vega stream, their environments feel more planet-harmonic and nature-centered. In their inner Earth stream, they feel older, deeper, more concealed, and more tied to the underworld of the planet. Socially, the Dwanis are quiet, observant, thoughtful, and selective in whom they trust. They appear more likely to watch, remember, and teach than to dominate. Their communities seem rooted in respect for elders, memory, and place. They are often associated with simple, earth-connected diets suited to hidden environments. Some traditions describe them as consuming insects, worms, and other foods available in subterranean or rugged ecological zones, suggesting a practical adaptive survival diet. Their society appears to be guided less by flashy rulers and more by elders, teachers, historians, guardians of place, and keepers of sacred memory. Their political order feels more like a council of wisdom than a kingdom of conquest. The Dwanis are generally peaceful, guarded, and knowledge-centered, though never weak. They prefer endurance, preservation, and distance over domination. When threatened, they rely on concealment, secrecy, environmental adaptation, selective contact, and the protection of their people. Their survival strategy is built on outlasting chaos rather than overpowering it. Yet their imperfections remain important. They can become too isolated, too cautious, too protective of knowledge, and too reluctant to step back into the larger currents of history. The Dwanis' strongest pressure always comes back to the same choice, whether to stay hidden and preserve or emerge and teach. They are the kind of race that holds old truths in silence until the age is ready to hear them again. In their family life, the Dwanis are best imagined as lineage-conscious and deeply protective of children, elders, and inherited knowledge. Family among them would likely revolve around oral teaching, communal continuity, memory, and the passing down of wisdom across generations. Their love would probably be quiet, enduring and protective rather than dramatic or performative. In the end, the Dwanis are a small, ancient wisdom race first associated with Vega, later spreading into Sirius and Canis Major, with some communities eventually dwelling in Inner Earth. They are remembered as hairy, elder-faced little beings with deep intelligence, strong ties to nature, and an enduring role as preservers of ancient knowledge, planetary memory, and the hidden history of the universe. They are not conquerors, they are keepers. Next